up, everybody? This is Steven from the 2040 podcast. We're here today giving you guys little nuggets and game from, when we were 20 to what we learned from 20 to now that we're 40. I'm Steven. I'm here with Aubrey and Sharad. Today we wanted to talk about 9 to 5 versus the hustle culture. I think we've talked a bunch on this podcast about I think we get a lot of the hustle side because Sharad and Aubrey are really big in it. Me, I'm the 9 to 5, right? Since I'm an attorney, that's all I do. I don't do no side hustles or anything. And I think with the audience, I think it's always good to give a little perspective on both, right? And if you're not familiar with what 9 to 5 or the hustle culture is, I was going to give you just a little background before we dive into it. So usually the 9 to 5 culture, usually you have set hours. Usually it's like 9 to 5, what we remember a job to be. Often tied to traditional employment with benefits and stability. Prioritizes boundaries between work and personal life. Emphasizes rest, time off, and downtime. The 9 to 5 is more stable, routine, predictability. Time equals money. Slower, steady career ladder, corporate, government, or education roles, or some of those 9 to 5. And your time off on the 9 to 5 is usually on the weekends and paid leave. And your identity in the workplace is your job is part of your life. And then with the hustle culture, you usually, your work hours, it's usually whatever you make it to be. Often it's 60 plus hours a week. You're often sacrificing balance for career or financial goals. Often it's entrepreneurial, freelance, or gig based. Can lead to burnout, stress, and anxiety. I think all do, but because of the higher hours and hustle, hustle culture, that's what they deemed it to be. Usually you're ambitious, financial freedom and personal branding is some of your motivation. The output actually equals money for hustle culture. It's fast paced, high risk, high reward. Some of the examples of that are like startups, freelancing, content creation, investing. And then when it comes to time off, it's usually often guilt or pressure for taking breaks. And the workplace identity for hustle culture is usually job is life instead of job being a part of your life. And so just with having a little bit of that, I thought one of the questions that we could start off for you guys is, do you guys think that hustle culture is glamorized, or do you think people are starting to reject it?
I've seen like a lot of people don't want the things that are not sexy. Like, yo, man, I'm a librarian. Nobody's talking about that. Yo, I work for the municipal department, and it's like I can't remember. I think somebody posted here. Or I saw it online, but it was like, the manager at Home Depot and In-N-Out and McDonald's and Burger King and these places are making 90 to 110, 120,000. And it doesn't look as sexy as, maybe the realtor or the, entrepreneur starting their business or their brand. So I think it's got to come down to what is your why and what's your vehicle? I think sometimes people think of our job as like our end all be all, but really it's like, where are you trying to go and what's the vehicle to get you there? And if you can understand that, then you can change your vehicle or choose the vehicle that best fits your personality. Some people do like to be more stable because they don't like the unpredictability or the lumpy income, like 1 month is bigger, 1 month is not. Some people do want the, more chance to make greater income. They don't want to be capped. So it's also personality dependent. I think there are different. Some people like to sit in one place in an office and be like, yo, this is where I'm coming. People got to come to me. Some people like to go to things and be out there and about. So I think it really is a part of your personality and understanding that there's some places that a 9 to 5 can't get you. Like you'll never really be free in a 9 to 5 without putting in 30, 35 years for a retirement. That's just not how a 9 to 5 is built. Whereas, starting your business does have that potential. Does it get you there all the time or even most of the time? No, but it does have the potential. So you got to also understand where these things can even take you.
What was the question?
The question was, do you think hustle culture is still glamorized, or you think people are starting to reject it?
Rejection, man. Rejection, because look at 2020. So I think it gets glamorized, especially when you say influencer. I think that's the one that everybody thinks they can do because that's just literally what you're already doing. You're already on social media. But for people who have had again, myself, multiple businesses. There was a time where, dude, I made almost $50,000 with a goddamn photo booth, with a photo booth just on Craigslist. No website, no hustling, no passing out flyers, just a good price, and then kind of move the price up a little bit. And I feel like people don't glamorize that part of it. Man, you have to show up to weddings, birthdays, you got to deal with kids, you got to deal with bad customers. You have to make sure you get paid. They glamorize it like it's just easy, and that it's just gonna easy come, easy go though. So for me, I think 2020 kind of let a lot of people know, it's not going to be a cakewalk. So if you're going to try to have a hustle, you got to have a legit business plan now. You got to legit have the word for it. I wanted to say funds. You got to have money behind it. Capital is what I was going to say. You got to have capital behind it. I was able to start like 5 businesses, make money off them from Craigslist, from my living room, with no website, no nothing. But nowadays it's super, super hard. And I think online glamorizes, well, you can do this and you can do that and start your own Amazon store and try this, and ChatGPT will get you rich if you do this. It's just not as easy anymore. One, because everybody has access to these things. Like my photo booth costs $10,000. That was my capital, right? I had to buy a $10,000 photo booth. You gotta get the props, you gotta get the red carpet, I had to build all of these things. I'll go into real estate is another one that I'm on the page. It's the biggest real estate page that I know of on Facebook. It's like 200,000 real estate agents. Every day, someone's like, I haven't had a closing in 6 months. What are y'all doing? They're always saying stuff like that. And everybody's comments are like, yo, this is a business. Are you running it like a business, or are you just trying to sell to your friends and family? Are you cold calling? Are you doing the groundwork that it takes to run a successful business? Most of the time they see the glamour and the glitz of having your own business, and they're not putting in the work. So yeah, I think it's definitely glamorized, and I think because of 2020, a lot of people are getting away from it, because 2020, if it wasn't hard before, 2020 made sure everybody knows, you want to start a business, you really have to be on your P's and Q's. The fact that 2020 shut everything down too. Pick your business. What got shut down? A lot of people's businesses, the ones you could think off top. You can't do that during a fucking pandemic. So I think that made a lot of people shift as well.
Yeah, and when I was 20, with my mom being in the military, I always, I think a lot of people when we were younger, being surrounded by people in the military, that pension that they all got after 20 years, 20 plus years, right, was something that was always ingrained in me, that, look for a job that's going to give you some type of benefit or pension or whatever, right? Because also being in the military, you got free healthcare, and your housing was paid and all these things, right? And so when I went into the military, I went into everything. Okay, I'll do 20 years and I'll get out, and then I'll do something else and do another. So I'll have double retirement. But then you get in there, and I was like, nah, right? And then when I started doing this, when I started being an attorney, right, that everyone's always like, well, why don't you just go and just open up your
Yeah.
own, put up your own shingle, and my thing is, it's like, it's hard enough for me just being an attorney, right? Trying to learn the ropes of doing what I have to do as an attorney. And then on top of that, putting on the business side of it, right? Because it's not just, oh, money in, money out type thing. You have to run your law firm as a business. And I wasn't trying to learn two things at the same time, right? Trying to be a successful business person while at the same time being a great attorney. And then I also looked at the state, right? And I think Aubrey's right, right? There is going to be a cap to how much you can make in the 9 to 5 traditional job. But at the same time, that what you're giving up and earning income, I feel I get back in time with my family. Like with my job, I have the ability to, if my daughter has a tennis match or a swim meet or whatever comes up for school, I'm able to just go. I don't, I just go. I make up the time. I have flex working. I just go. I have so much time. If I want to take time off, I I just put in a request. It's not, and it's always getting granted. No one's ever said, no, you can't go this day. And I think that trade off that I get with maybe what I don't make as much of, but the freedom I have to spend time and, it's nice at 5 o'clock being able to shut my computer and say, hey, I'm not opening this up tomorrow until I start work at 8. You know what I mean? Like the mental side of it, of not always grinding and always looking at dollars and always looking at like, I know how much I'm going to get paid. The state's going to put that check in my bank account every single time, and that's it. And all I got to do is do my 40 hours a week, and then, it's a give and trade. And I think some of the, I saw some stats on this, and one of them that kind of blew my mind is about 60% of US millennials said that they would take a 20% pay cut for a better quality life, which is basically a work-life balance. And then another one was that so millennials used to be more likely to agree that work should always come first, even if it means less spare time. And that was about 41% of millennials back in 2009. By 2022, millennials now believe 14% agree with that statement that work should come first for more time. And I think a lot of the stuff we talk about on this podcast is about how to get more time back for the things that you want to do. Um, and I get it. And I guess for me, I've never been, I've always had that traditional role of what a traditional job brings you. And I know I do get a pension and you do have to put in that time, but you also have to think you get that money regardless, right? That money, that check is coming in as long as you're alive and you don't have to worry about your type of retirement. And I guess I would like to pick up where Pep was talking about the social media stuff, right? Was, what impact does social media have on self-worth and how people perceive success or failure now when it comes to whether a traditional job or that 9 to 5, or the hustle life?
So people's vision of success, I definitely think, is skewed because of, the few that we see on social media get seen by so many in the algorithm because of the car that they have and the house that they have or the clothes they wear, which I get. To be honest, when I look at it, I understand why people have to do that. There's so many voices out now that subconsciously we have to skew them out by what we know takes success financially to get. Subconsciously, what car they're in, how they dress, what they buy. Because if everybody has a voice, how do we tell them different by their visual? We can't. We don't know their backstory. So I get that. And I think the understanding that you've got to know your family or your life and your vision for your life and what you're trying to create. And then you've got to create the plan, almost like your life is a business. So you got to understand, hey, if my life is a business, how much money do I need to make? How much does my life cost? My vision of where I want to take us, how much does that cost, and what's going to create that? And then, kind of like Stephen talked about, you've got to optimize for your strengths and, kind of move away from your weaknesses. Some people really need that steady. My mom came from Mexico on her own. She couldn't really have the hustle culture type of thing because once I came in, right, my dad, right, was going to school after he got out of the Marines. They couldn't miss a meal. It could, like, the safety net had to be there no matter what. It couldn't be I hope it's there. It had to be there. But then I was able to build on top of that and take a few more risks. So you've got to kind of create that stability first to build from, on top of that to go for the bigger things because you'll be taken care of from that foundation. But I think one thing you got to understand is you got to understand that if you want that job and that security, it's going to take about 40 hours a week for 40 years. You're not going to really retire at the 50s and the late 40s with the regular. And I saw this today and I thought it made a lot of sense. It said, Motley Fool, they're like an investor platform. They said, save more than you think you need, invest earlier than you think you need, and invest and leave it invested longer than you think you need. If we've seen anything in the last, since 2020, I think electricity is up like 28%, food is up like 25%, gas is up like 40%, cost of living in houses are up like 48, 50%. The puck can move really fast as far as what your life costs. And you've got to understand that. Is that probably going to keep happening? I think so. So you've got to create this base and build from it even more. When I personally look at us, I look at what a regular 9 to 5 will be able to create for my family. And just in my perspective, that's not enough for us. Because in my perspective, by the time I just turned 40 yesterday, by the time I'm about 45 is when I'm giving myself personally to be able to still need to work. Like for me personally, having a boss tell me what I do with my hours in my day just is not my long-term plan for my life and my family. right? So I need to set up a goal for that. Some people like that and they want to be working to their 50 and 60. That's just my choice. So for me, one 9 to 5 job just isn't going to create that. It won't allow my wife to stay home with our daughter and not have her to be in daycare. So I took on adding the extra things, right? I work multiple, careers. I work multiple contracts inside of physical therapy. I'm an investor trader, but that's personally my personality. And the last thing I'll add to that is like, as I increased our income, and my wife has a business on TikTok shop and social media too. As we increased our income, what we did personally is, as the income increased, we kept the cost of living the same, so we could take this extra and buy our freedom. I listened to this book, and there was a lady that asked the author. She was like, "Well, when I make money, I feel like I'm depriving myself because I can't buy the things I want." He said, "I don't deprive myself. I buy the things I want. I just want freedom." That's where my money goes to, where I'm buying back my time with my freedom. So if I can buy things that create cash flow that can pay me $5,000 a month instead of having to go work for $5,000 a month, I just bought my 40 hours a week back. So I thought that made a lot of sense. I am buying something. It's not just sitting. I'm buying my freedom. And that's what means the most to me personally.
Yeah, so like, dog, we wasted so much time before we recorded. Like, my hungover shit is starting to kick the fuck in. This is insane, dude. Like, I'm like sweating and shit. I'm like, yo, we gotta wrap this episode up. But
Of
nah,
course,
and
going
then
through
two,
withdrawals.
I'd right, and then two, happy birthday, dog. Your birthday was fucking yesterday. What the fuck?
Thanks, man. Yeah,
Did
just
it
turned
not pop up
40.
on Facebook? I checked that
It
shit.
didn't. He needs to put his birthday
You need
on
to put your
Facebook.
fucking birthday on there, bro. Like,
I
wait,
thought
we
it
don't
was on
remember.
Happy
there.
birthday,
I
Aubrey.
think it is
No,
on there.
I check it often because I like to say happy birthday to people. So happy birthday.
Facts.
Nigga, you old. So Steven's the only 39-year-old on the 20 to 40 podcast. Um,
I'm a fraud.
this is a good example. Like, okay, so if this is our business, the podcast, I'm like fucking hungover right now. If I had a regular job, I could just call out sick, but like I have to sit here and listen to this shit. And I have to do this because I gotta feed my family. This is a good example of what it is to run a business, bro. You don't have that leeway. Like you really have to I think you said personality is what just triggered in my head in your last soliloquy. I think it has to be part of your personality. You know, some shit that popped in my head the other day. I was listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, Crossroads. I typed out the lyrics to that shit and was trying to sell it to these niggas when I was in like fifth, sixth grade. I would get Halloween candy and then come out in front of my house and try to sell it. Like, I think it's always been my personality to try to have a business. Smartly, I was like, when I had the opportunity, you go check it out, season 7, episode 1 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was on that shit.
Were you?
And I had opportunity to either be a cop or continue in Hollywood. I mean, my first gig was on a major TV show, Larry David. I'm sitting next to Wanda Sykes and Larry David. And I, even at that time, with my hustle mentality, I was like, bro, you got to go get a steady paycheck. And then from there, I started Surreal Productions and I started all these other business, photography, videography, real estate, insurance, all the different things I dabble in. But that's just it. I'm dabbling. I props to the people who are able to fully commit themselves to running a business. Steven, I think that was a great example of I always look at dentists and lawyers and be like, you already did all the schooling, just start your own practice. And you just told us why. Like, nigga, this job is hard enough. You want me to run a business too? Like, you want me to take calls in the middle of the night, clients quitting on me, not paying. Now I got to take them to court. I'm already in court to deal with whatever, practice that I'm doing. So I really think personality is a huge part of if you're going to try to do it. But I personally think even if you don't have the personality for it, I tell everybody, well, then what's your hobby? Whatever you enjoy doing, try to make that a hustle and make money out of it because you already enjoy doing it. So if it's video games, if it's tennis, if it's I don't care. Walking dogs. Like, I just feel like having that freedom of having your own business is ideal. I'm still working on it at 40. I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to do my 9 to 5, but I have to have a hustle at some point because it's my personality and something will work, I feel like, but I also put one foot in with every hustle that I've ever had. I make good money and then I get even more lazier because I'm like, oh, the money kind of came easy because I don't have a website because I'm not doing those things. But I think personality, Aubrey, when you said that, I think that's a huge factor if you're going to do it. But everybody try to have a hustle because I'm telling you that freedom that you get from the hustle, it's a great feeling. Yeah.
I just want to make a correction. We don't treat this like a business because we don't make any money because if you go back a couple episodes, Pep wants to keep saying nigga. So that is how we are not monetized right now. So you don't have to be here. But it was a joke. I'm sorry, Pep.
Yo, also still don't get me started on y'all pro black everything, but don't say the one black word.
Yeah,
Let's stop it.
would you? I was just. It was a joke. I'm sorry. It was ill timed. But I do
Triggering.
think
Triggered.
I do agree though. I think social media has really. I feel like nowadays you're looked at as a lame or a square if you have like a traditional 9 to 5 job, right? Like the social media life of, oh, look at me, I woke up, and then they influence all these other products that are given to them, right? And oh, I'm taking all these trips when it's all influenced and given to them to show you that, life is this, and we have a house, and we have this, and we have these cars, and we have this, and who wouldn't want that life, right? Who wouldn't want to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, wake up, someone's cooking you breakfast, you get to go jump in the pool first thing for a little exercise, and you come back, and then checking emails, and then you have some phone calls with the brand manager, and then you have a nice dinner out there on the water, and then you come home, and yeah, it looks great, but people don't realize that it's fake, right? Like it's fake. Like these people are giving you fake lives because then you'll see when they go broke in a couple of years because something happens and the streams ain't coming in. Like we see a lot of the big streamers, it happens to. I think the only person that's really showed like real longevity, and I show Speed, right? Speed is out there every day giving content that most people don't give in a sports world in a way that is unique. And I even find myself watching when he went to go to China. That's how I was like, wow, man, this dude is just like when he goes on his little international trips and all the people that come out. And, for me, I've always been a person that, once you're in the military, I feel like, once you're used to someone telling you what you're going to do, like every job, someone's going to be telling you what you do unless you own the business, right? Which I get. But I also think that we no longer show on social media like good stuff about the 9 to 5, right? Like I post times all the time where it's like people are like, yo, how are you golfing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Like, how are you out with your daughter? How are you fishing? How are you going out? How are you doing? Or like people hit me up like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm at the store. And they're like, why are you not working right now? And it's like, well, I can take time off, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like my job gives me that flexibility to do things. If I want to go on a week trip, if I want to take the wife and we just want to go on a week trip, I don't got to worry about work. I ain't checking no emails. I ain't doing none of that stuff. So my work life balance in my 9 to 5 is what I want. I got 2 daughters, and I love spending time with the family. And if I want to take a Friday off or a Monday off, just because I don't feel like going to work, take the time off, Steven. Like, you know what I mean? I don't feel pressure in any way because I know I'm going to have work. If there's one thing working for the government that you're going to have is you're going to have work. You're always going to have an abundance of work. So I'm never worried about work because work will always be there. But what won't always be there? My daughter being almost 3, right? My other daughter just having her 14th birthday, like stuff like that I don't want to miss. And being a father, I just love being there for my family, and I love just having the downtime. And because Aubrey's on here and he's our health and fitness guru, I wanted to look at some of the difference in just like health outcomes between traditional jobs and the hustle culture, right? And they said that people who work 55 plus hours a week have significantly higher risk for heart disease and stroke compared to those working 35 to 40 hours a week. And then they also say that long hours are usually tied to more depressive symptoms like anxiety and poor sleep. And also high occupational stress mediates relation between working hours and low job satisfaction and poor life balance. So the numbers, and I think hustle culture, like we all know, we all been hustling, right? Like we've heard that key term forever. But I think now we're starting to see more health related data come back. because people are starting to work so much more and how much it does take on your life. And I think another thing that we don't talk about with the hustle culture is also your mental health and burnout, right? Like burnout is, especially among millennials and Gen Z, is a very big thing because if you're not happy with your work and you're working all these hours, you're gonna burn out and you're just not gonna want to work anymore. So I guess my question that I have that kind of goes to mental health and burnout is, how do we overcome the pressure to constantly be productive even during our rest and our downtime? So when you are having that time off, how are you being able to just think about, I'm not worrying about being productive. I just need to rest and recharge.
I think one of the things that we've got to have as a background for people that are listening too is like when Stephen talks about his 9 to 5, you got to understand that Stephen really positioned himself going into the military, getting the GI Bill, going into to lawyer school, right? Getting his, his lawyer credentials. I think it's JD, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then pass the bar. Yep.
Yeah, passing the bar. And that really speaks to, with anything, you really got to position yourself. So if you can position yourself to where your 9 to 5 can create where you want it to go, fine, that's cool. Where I see a lot of people tripping up is they're not positioning themselves in their 20s. You got to, me and my wife talk about this. 20 to 30 is like, you got the most energy, you got the least responsibility, and you got the most opportunity to set up the next 30 and 40. And if you don't position yourself, you're going to get burnt out way faster because your hourly output is going to not be as strong as you need it. If you are barely pacing above minimum wage and a little bit more, you're going to get tired because your 40-hour work week isn't going to produce that much in your life. And it's going to get harder and harder because wages are not keeping pace, right? I told you guys since 2020, right? The housing cost is up 50% and all these things. Wage growth, I think, is only like 16 or 15%. So it's not nearly keeping up. So you got to understand, you got to position yourself to be that valuable to the marketplace to where you, if you want to work a 9 to 5, your 9 to 5 can still produce because you're making 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. Or you got to hustle and bring that value to the marketplace to make that, because no matter what, you got to produce. That's the biggest thing I think you got to understand in this life is you got to produce. And then that comes to the mental thing. People get burnt out when they feel like their work isn't doing anything. They're spinning their wheels. I've been there before. Number one, are you backing up and seeing what your value is to the marketplace and how you produce? And number two, you might have to change the vehicle to get to where you want to go. If you're where you want to go is you want to create, financial foundation for your family, freedom, have a house, have the trips, okay, cool. One thing I had to understand is that, okay, there's been times where I had to financially make some shifts. I had to sell some stuff at the crib, right? I had to take on extra jobs. I had to, we moved out of California because just California wasn't going to make sense for us financially when I looked at the taxes and the cost. Like all that stuff wasn't easy. People always want to talk about, well, I don't want to. I didn't ask about what you wanted to do, bro. Like, I don't want to pay taxes, but I got to, right? I don't want to do these bench presses, but I got to, because this life just requires things. And the minute you stop talking about what you want to do to what you got to do to where you want to go, then the mental, because the thing is, I do about 50 to 60 hours a week. And it's hard. In my work, I'm not chilling. I'm not sitting at a desk. I'm out in the streets going to my patients' houses. Plus, I have other business I do too. But I can do it because mentally, I know what I'm doing it for. The mentality of what I'm doing it for being bigger than me just wanting a nice shirt or a nice shoes or a nice car for my family and the foundation gives me the mental juice. Where you'll get burnt out is if you're like, oh, I'm just doing this for these shoes to look cool on the gram to take a picture. You're going to burn out because you're subconsciously going to be like, this isn't worth it. And it's not worth all this output I'm doing. Tony Robbins said, when you make it bigger, what you're doing it for, you get more energy from the universe. So number one, you got to know where you're going, why you're doing it. You might need to be flexible in the vehicle. And this is the big thing. It's probably going to take some years of some sacrifice. People trying to get there without no years of the grind. My nigga, the influencer is not going to show you the 5 years of grind because it's not sexy. Nobody wants to
be saying nigga.
Nobody. We just got canceled, man. We could have damn made money off this podcast. But nobody wants to see that 5 years of grind. But guess what? You still got to do it. You gotta have that grind ability, not forever, but you got to have the ability to turn that thing on and grind it out with intentional grind forward. Okay, I'm creating this because now think about Steven, think about Sarad. They work for the government, but they're 6-figure income earners from the government. So their 40 hours is now creating on average, I think like over $50 an hour, maybe $60 an hour, right? If you include their benefits and pension, probably more. That's made different than if they would have grinded for the $40 an hour at, KFC, at, the local neighborhood, grocery store. Same 40 hours, but the grind set them up different. So whether you do 9 to 5 or hustle, whatever it is, you got to set up the grind to be able to create the production. So I think that'll help with the mental. Cats be just a little soft. I'm like, get to the grind. Like, stop complaining. You waste the energy, man.
I was debating to just hold it in or just throw that shit up right now on I mean, I don't know. Like it'd be good TV, right? Like I was like, dog, just do it, but I'm gonna hold it. All right, I'm gonna hold this in. I had to change locations because yeah, man. Again, we wasted too much time bullshit in the beginning. It's been an hour and a half since we've been on camera, and all of a sudden it's just hitting me, dog. For the record, it was fucking date night. All right, like my mom's got the baby. We go out. All right, like this is how you have a healthy marriage. We were partying last night, and we party most Saturday nights. All right, this is what me and my wife do. What was the question? No, I'm joking. One thing I do want to mention is the hustle ain't for everybody, and and you've seen it in your 9 to 5s each, I'm sure. Like Steven, you're already a supervisor of some sort.
Yeah, I'm the lead attorney here. Yeah.
You're the lead attorney. You ain't been an attorney long. How many people under you have been doing this longer than you?
Uh, the person that's under me now, I actually went to law school with. So she's awesome. So,
But the other people you that was
uh,
my life.
like our legal assistants, some of them, I think Alyssa, she's been here longer than me, but she's a legal assistant, so it's not like, but yeah. So there's some people that have worked longer than me, but not many.
Okay. From my experience, and this is I've only been in HR for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm probably gonna be in charge of all these people who've been doing it longer than me. Just everybody just doesn't have that grit, that grind. So I hear what you're saying, Aubrey. I would say for the people that have it, don't 1 foot it. If you have it and you feel it, then go full force. But you have to remember a lot of these cats just don't have it. I worked at the police station, and again, I'm telling you, there was 100 people under me. That's why it's easy for me to say there was 100 people under me. Like 70 of them have way more experience than me, but my mind was different than theirs to say I want to be in charge, I want to be a leader, I want to be the boss, I have more hustle, I'm cool with taking the phone calls in the middle of the night, I'm cool with making decisions, sometimes wrong, sometimes good. I'm down to learn, I'm down to build off of that. So I think that's really important with some of the advice we're given is if it's just not you, it's not you. Got you. You work your 9 to 5, you do it for a certain amount of time, you find that balance in your life, and you thrive on that. But for the ones who do have that itch, this is what we're trying to say you have to do. You have to be able to go full force. You have to be able to put all your energy. You have to understand the pros and the cons of trying to have a hustle. And yeah, I'm too drunk for this shit.
And I think what Aubrey said is that when you're trying to, there's a difference between the hustle culture and grinding, right? Everyone is going to have to grind at some time. And I also agree with Aubrey about positioning yourself. And I did position myself. But you also have to realize before I went to law school, for probably about, I want to say about 6 months, I was a janitor. Okay. I was cleaning bathrooms and offices and banks. I was a janitor. I was also living in a 1 bedroom apartment with my daughter, so I gave her the thing and I slept in the whatchamacallit in like the living room basically because it was big enough. I was on WIC, you know what I'm saying? I was getting all that stuff, right? And if I would have just let that dictate to me where I wanted to go to position myself, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And that's when you have to grind. And it's in the grind isn't sexy at all. No one wants to hear about all the nights and days that I spent in a cubicle just studying by myself with a hoodie on and listening to music by myself, right? No one talks about the long nights or the hard times in a relationship because you're grinding so hard and you have this in your mind and how that impacts your relationship with, whether it's your wife or girlfriend, your kids, your family, because you do become a little bit of a recluse when you
But
stop. You
but
start,
Steven, I think that's the separation I'm trying to put
yeah,
out
yeah, yeah,
there because
yeah.
everybody doesn't grind.
No,
Everybody
right,
don't have to grind.
right,
Some people live with mom and dad until they're 50, until they're 60, and then mom and dad pass away, and then they take over the house. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't have to actually go through that, and that's okay too.
right,
As if you're not trying to get, I hate to say it, for people like us, we want the fast cars, we want the big house and all that. But
right.
some people are like, no, I'm cool with the ADU in the back of mom and dad's house, even
Yeah,
though I'm
and if and if you're lucky to have that, that's great, right?
right,
But
right.
I know a bunch of us, and I know all the people that are giving us, feedback from here, and not everyone's on that. Everyone is looking right now for the nuggets of okay, what can make me stand out so I can get on my grind, whether it is getting a job, a good state job with benefits, or to be a better hustler and make more income so I can get that financial freedom, right? I think people have to understand that it's okay whatever route you choose. And,
Yeah.
and you guys are right. Personality all makes up that because my personality is I want to work. I want to do stuff that's going to, helping the families in North Dakota, gives me that greater purpose for my burnout, right? But I think one thing that we always talk about the grind and the hustle and all that. Take your time to rest. When it's your time to just recharge those batteries, that's when it's important to know what your hobbies are because that's the thing that's going to help you get rid of the stress, help you relax, help you get back into oneself. Because you know what? Well, working takes no matter what anyone says, working takes a little bit out of you every single week. You're waking up doing the same thing every single week. It's a grind. You're waking up at times you don't want to go up. You got other things other than work going on in your life going on, right? But the downtime and that rest for you is what helps you get back prepared mentally, but then also gets you back centered. Every week, like this is my thing on Sundays. I don't do anything. I watch football, right? Like once football season on, that's my Sunday thing. And that's just a way for me to just recharge, think about what's because usually the kids are there, my wife are there, we're all hanging out, and it just feels like man, this is what I'm grinding so hard for that I can sit downstairs in my man cave, watch NFL Ticket, and have some snacks, enjoy the time with my family, and just have a good time. And this is why I'm grinding so hard, right? To have this house, to have my family in a position that makes me feel good, right? Like that's taking care of my family, taking care of my kids, helping others around in my community. That feeds me. And I really do love the traditional life. Like, I don't think I could I'm not a hustler like in the scheme of things where I just want to work, 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 work. And I get it. I look at it as, my when I get time to retirement, like I'm living life now. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on life then, even though I'm working while I'm in. Like, yeah, I would love to wake up and not have to do anything and just do whatever I want. But a little bit of work, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of work. Keeps, especially being an attorney, it keeps my mind fresh. It gets me thinking critically still and keeps me on my toes. And I love the people I work with. And I think that's another thing. Like you gotta really see, can you get along well with others? Maybe the traditional job ain't for you on that. And I know we're getting close to the end, and I just have this one question. I think this is the question I think I just want to end with is if you could tell yourself one truth about adulthood that no one warned you about, what would it be?
It's a good one. Kind of piggybacking off of what you're talking about. One thing that I think people need to understand listening to this is that Steven also moved to North Dakota to where that can kind of support lifestyle there. In my heart of hearts, I'm starting to feel a 9 to 5 won't really make it happen for most families, especially not one 9 to 5 for mother, father, kids. I don't think it's going to support anymore. And what I mean by support is do it for some time and then be able to have your freedom after, like retirement and all that. I'm starting to see that it is just there's not enough money to go around and where cost is going and what things cost now, home, education, food. So in my heart of hearts, I feel like even if you're not a hustler, you got to find another stream. You got to have multiple streams of income to create if you don't want to work forever until the day you die. And I think that's one of the things I would have, told myself about adulthood is this money thing isn't play. Like many marriages fall apart because of finances. Many friendships fall apart because of finances. Many people don't end up living the life they want to live because of finances. Finances touch so many things and it's like fire. It can cook your dinner, it could burn your house down. And it's something you really need to understand because your whole life will be revolving around it. You'll go to work for hours because of this. You'll live in certain neighborhoods because of this. You'll be able to experience certain things or not because of this. As a man, you'll be able to provide for your family in a certain way or not because of this. Like sometimes I think personally, just as a father, like I personally want to make sure my daughter and, hopefully you have more kids can go to the schools that they want to go to, can have the experiences they want to have. Like I would personally feel like a failure if I couldn't send my kids to certain schools of college or live in certain neighborhoods personally for me, because I feel like that's my chosen challenge, right? I want to be able to create that. That all revolves around finances. I would never want to be the father that his kids can't do certain things because I didn't handle business. And that comes down to telling myself, yo, this money thing, you need to understand from what it's made of to how to make more of it, to how to create a lot of it, to how to earn a lot of it. Like you got to become a high earner. So many people, I think, don't understand the importance of becoming a high earner. As a male, you need to be that to create that kind of umbrella for your family. And that's going to take work. That's going to take being open, learning, being mentored, understanding what things are happening in the marketplace. Because personally, for me, that would be what my mission here is. Like sometimes I ask myself, what's my mission in this lifestyle, in this life? Is it just to party, hang out? No, I want to be a part of my family generation, creating that foundation going forward. Personally, for me, I look back and I don't know anybody past my grandparents. Like I've heard about my great grandmother on my dad's side. I don't know anybody on my mom's side. I want my family from here on forward to be like, I know some families that like my great grandfather came from Italy and my great grandmother started this business here. And I'm like, I don't have any of that. And I want to create that for my family foundation. Like we started this and we created these homes and these businesses and these trips and these family trips. That's what I want to create. So therefore, I got to master this thing called money, homie, because this is what so much of your life is going to be impacted by when you get older. 98% of your life. So that's what I tell myself.
Yeah, if I could go back, I'd probably say don't start a podcast. To answer the question seriously, Aubrey, I think, bro, I don't know if you're talking to these average Joes, man. You talk about wanting to be remembered as great grandpa who started this, whatever this is. Like this ain't. Again, Steven, I was asking you, and you didn't have a great example. I worked with a lot of people. Again, the police department was very large. There's a lot of cats who are living in California. Again, there's crazy sacrifices, but that GS7 pay, because remember, locality is included in the federal government pay. So the locality is not perfect, but it basically says you can live off of this. And what they're saying is you can live off this if you do that basic shit, and you don't want to be remembered by, oh, Papa from 2025. I remember he mastered that fucking money. Like they don't care about that shit. All right. So there's plenty of people that are just doing that. And that's I just want to make sure I'm keeping them included, because I actually think there's more of them than there are hustler, grinding, boss mentality. And so if you're going to be the opposite of that, then just understand that, there's a certain lifestyle you're going to have to live. So KFC, the bagger at Rouse. I knew people who just literally, like, how old are you? 20, 29 at the time, Like, how long you been a bagger? It's fucking for a minute, you know what I'm saying? This is what they do. They play video games and they bag. There was one nigga graduated from USC when I went back to Papa John's back in like 2012. The nigga graduated from USC and was just delivering pizza. That nigga didn't have a fucking grinding bone in his body, clearly. I was like, nigga, why'd you go to USC? You're just gonna deliver pizza. That nigga was happier than me. That nigga was living it up. Nigga, he had free food. Nigga, he fucking He was stealing sodas in the back and shit. All right, again, I'm too drunk for this. Y'all should have never wasted that hour before we got on. The liquor just started kicking in again or something. I don't know. Yo, wrap this shit up.
So I guess the one thing, the one thing I would tell myself is, simple things are okay. I'm a simple person, right? Like yes, I want a nice car, but I only want one nice car. I want a nice house.
Yeah.
I only want one nice house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a very simple person. I just like simple things, and being simple is probably the better way to live. Because yes, while I make all this money and I do all these things, at the end of the day, I'm able to do that because I live a simple life. I have a car, my wife has a car. We have this house, my kids have everything they need and that they want, and I'm happy. I have all the things I need and I want. And what I want to do, like going golfing, going fishing, that's not an expensive thing to do. Going on trips, if you save up, you have a savings going, you can do that. And I think if I would have known back then, when I was 20, that all that glitz and glamour, we grew up in the age of, MTV and BET, where everybody was, 26-inch rims, spinning 26-inch rims was the thing that back when the Cadillac truck came out. That's
Michael Vick jerseys.
Right? Like that's I didn't need, and we all want those things. We all want all the J's and all this and all that. When you get to this age, when you get to 40, a simple life is the best life. A healthy family, just little things in life. You're not looking for the at least me, and this is personally, I'm not looking, yes, I'm looking for my legacy, but my legacy is like, I want to be able to hand stuff down to my girls that they can be like, oh man, my dad did this, right? But they're also in touch with a simple life of just wanting to hang out, play, do kid things, right? And I think so often we get caught up in this hustle and grind culture that maybe we don't take a step back to actually look at the simple things in life that really makes us happy and what really makes us want to do everything we want to do. And if I would have known that a little earlier, maybe I wouldn't have been spending all this money frivolously. I would have maybe thought about investing more because, if I'm looking for simple things, that's a simple way to do things, right? If you just break it down in the thing. So I think if anyone's listening, it's okay to be simple. You don't have to be glitz and glamour. You don't have to be this and that. You can just be a simple person that likes simple things and just loves life in a simple way. And that's why I love North Dakota, because I could be as simple as I want out here and I could be as bougie as I want out here. But to be simple out here is so easy. And no one cares. That's the other thing, right? Nobody cares what you're doing. You might think the only person that really checking on you is you, because no one's going to save you, right? You have to save yourself in this life. And so you have to make your moves the best way that you can and not worry about how others are going to see that happen. Be simple and just do you and take control of your own life. So that's all. Anyone got anybody else? I'll give it one more thing. I know I did a little bit. Everyone good?
I was gonna say simple. That if I could go back, I would tell myself be more simple. The Burberry and the Louis Vuitton and the True Religions and all that. That I would go back to my old self and say, don't do that.
Right. Well, there you have it. That's episode 17 right there for the 2040 podcast. Again, everyone that's been promoting, hit that like, share, follow. We really appreciate all the feedback. We look at it all. We talk about it in the group chat. So, I know we're going to try to bring some people on the podcast here in a couple episodes or so. So if you have any ideas, thoughts, reach out, let us know. So thanks for listening. And it's the 2040 podcast.